comes in late if you can. Thank you.
The meeting is now being broadcast on YouTube.
Thank you. Good evening. Prior to moving to the first item on the agenda this evening, which is committee's election of their chairman, for public information, a roll call event attendees will now be taken. Councillor Alison Austin.
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Alan Bell.
Present.
Councillor Anton Danny, Mr. Mayor.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Anne Dorian. Councillor Deborah Evans.
Present.
Councillor Vivian Edge. Councillor Paul Goodale.
Present.
Councillor Martin Griggs. Councillor Neil Hasty.
Present.
Councillor Martin Howard. Councillor Brian Rush.
Present.
Councillor Yvonne Stevens. Councillor Stephen Woodliff.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Phil Perry, Assistant Director, Support Services and Partnerships and Lead Officer for this committee.
Present.
Muddy Air, Local Communities Development Officer.
Present.
Thank you. And Matt Fisher, Operations Manager.
Present, Karen.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call. We'll now move to the first item of business, the election of your chairman. Please use the raise hand button to nominate and second. If you wish to make a statement about the member you are nominating, please do so at the time of making the nomination. Thank you. And I can see Councillor Alison Austin showing first. Thank you.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Goodale again. He's got sort of part way through things that he ought to be continuing with, I think.
I'd like to
Thank you.
second that for the opportunity.
Thank you. Well, Councillor Danny is showing next on the screen. Have you finished, Councillor Austin?
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry. Was I expected to say anything else now?
No, that's fine. You have
No.
the opportunity to do so should you wish to do so, Councillor. Thank you very much. Next showing is Councillor Danny, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I will second that. Actually, I was going to recommend Councillor Goodale to continue for his good work, but since Councillor Austin did that before me, so I will second her proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Danny.
Thank you.
I have Councillor Woodliff showing. Councillor Woodliff?
I was going to make the same statement, actually.
Okay. Thank
Beaten
you,
to it
sir.
by the mayor. So well done, Councillor Danny. I
Thank you,
would
sir.
have supported.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well done. Thanks.
Councillor Alan Bell, you're showing.
Yes, I just want to concur with all that's gone before me. Councillor Goodale is the man that will take us forward, I'm sure.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you, sir. If there are no further nominations, we have one nominee for the position of councillor for the next year until May. We'll move to a vote for or against, please, members. Councillor Alison Austin.
For.
Councillor Alan Bell.
For.
Councillor Anton Danny, Mr. Mayor.
Or.
Thank you. Councillor Deborah Evans. Councillor Paul Goodale.
For.
Yeah, you have the right to vote, sir. Councillor Neil Hasty.
For.
Councillor Brian Rush.
For.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Stephen Woodliff,
For.
sorry.
For.
That's carried unanimously. Councillor Goodale is appointed chairman.
Congratulations.
The meeting's yours, Councillor Goodale. We'll just make you co-host. Just bear with me just one moment, sir. Here you are, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, colleagues. And we'll move on to the second item of business this evening, which is the appointment of a vice chairman. The same procedure will apply for nominations. If you wish to make a statement, please do so when you make the nomination, and the voting process will be the same as used for the appointment of chairman. Karen, please, can you take the nominations?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Alison Austin is showing first. Thank you.
I haven't asked him, but I'd like to nominate Councillor Woodliff.
Oh, dear. Well, yes, I'll do it if you want.
Say yes, thank you, not okay.
All right. Yes, thank you, Alison. Councillor Austin. Yes, thank you very much. If you want, I'll do that, yes.
Thank you. The second hand showing is Councillor Danny. Mr. Mayor. Can't hear you, sir. Can you unmute?
Yes, sorry about that. Well, what I was going to say is Councillor Alison Austin is still in my light tonight. Well, I was going to nominate Councillor Woodliff, but I will second that proposal then.
Oh,
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Pleasure.
Are there any further nominations? Councillor Bell, you're showing. No, you've taken your hand down, sir. Any further nominations for Vice Chairman? Thank you. We have one nomination. That's Councillor Stephen Woodliff for the appointment of Vice Chairman. We'll move to a vote, please, members. Councillor Alison Austin.
For.
Councillor Alan Bell.
For.
Councillor Anton Danny.
For.
Councillor Deborah Evans. Councillor Paul Goodale, Chairman.
For.
Councillor Neil Hastie.
For.
Councillor Brian Rush.
For.
And Councillor Stephen Woodliff.
Or, I suppose, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Again, a unanimous vote. Councillor Stephen Woodliff is a duly elected Vice Chairman of the committee. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Stephen. There we go. Well, thank you. Then let's move on to the rest of the evening's preliminary items, please. To receive apologies for absence, please, Karen.
I have no apologies, Chairman.
Thank you. To sign and confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 7th of October 2020. I see you've raised your hand, Councillor Austin. Alison.
I have a feeling I said I would give Councillor Edges apologies, so my apologies for not having given them.
Thank you. Apologies accepted. Councillor Griggs, you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to apologise for being late. Cabinet overran, and Councillor Stevens, if she's not in just yet, is currently in the process of joining.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. We will look at that. Thank you. So going back to the agenda item then, confirm the minutes, the last meeting on the 7th of October 2020. Do I have your permission to sign the minutes?
Yes.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. E, to receive declarations of interest in respect of any items on the agenda this evening. Does anyone have any interest to declare, please? No, thank you. Updates from previous actions. I have an update from Christian Allen about the outcome of the special Btac meeting held on the 26th of November about the police response to the illegal encampment. I believe Karen has sent it to you all electronically.
That's correct, Chairman.
I'm happy to read it, but I have to say this evening I won't be opening up for debate because obviously there is an all-member briefing going to be held in the new year. So it does seem pointless to have a debate twice. But if members are happy for me to read through it, I will, or I can, if members are happy that they've received the electronic note and are happy with that, then we'll move on. Anybody have any preference? No, I'll read through it then.
We will be happy to move on, Mr. Chairman.
Happy to move on?
Yes, we receive it, all of us, and we read it. So
we received it, yes,
yeah.
I know. That's fine.
I would be happy to move on as well. Yes, I read it.
Thank you. Okay, then. Well, we've.
Chairman, add my name to that.
Thank you. Well, we'll consider that a consensus then, and we'll move on. Thank you very much for that, and thank you, Mr. Allen, for the update. I did ask him for it, but it's very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just interject, I've had a little message from Councillor Dorian, and she may be delayed. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but she's got a bit of a reason why she's been delayed. She's going to do her best to get to the meeting, but can't guarantee it.
Thank you, Councillor Rush.
Thank you.
I mean, if she can't make it, we'll note her apologies. Thank you. Right. Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Perry, or are you happy for us to move on if you have nothing to add?
Nothing to add, Chairman.
Thank you. To answer written questions, are there any written questions, Karen, please?
There are none, Chairman.
Well, thank you. Then that concludes the preliminary items. We will now move on to part 2. And the first item will be the Btac 2020-21 financial position update as at the 31st of October 2020. This report is on page 5 of the agenda pack, and it is provided for information only. It's simply for noting. It shows the budget and projected outturn for the 2021 year and projected Btac reserves at the end of March 21. Do any members have any comments or questions, please? No.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just a comment. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. My apologies. I think for a small summary as this one, it will be probably useful to have a table which is stating the figures in the right way, so we can just follow up and keep it with us for the future records.
Yeah, I mean, there is a table in Appendix 1, but yes, I don't really see any problem.
That's it.
It's on page 9. Of the Btac report. Anyone else wish to make a comment? No, thank you. Did you wish to comment, Mr. Perry?
No, nothing more, Chair. Just to let you know, on page 10, there is the forecasted Btac reserve table.
Yes, that's very true. But I think it just show. Actually, we've actually spent a good part of our budget this year, and we've done some sterling work with those reserves as we were hoping to. So it's looking good. Okay, then we'll move on to the Btac small grant scheme. This is on page 11 of the agenda pack and will be presented by Maddie Eyre, the Btac grants administrator. Maddie, if you would like to take us through it, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, councillors. As Chairman has said, this item is on page 11 of your agenda pack, and you will also have been sent table 2 with the decision of the Btac Small Grant Working Group for your information. In accordance with the committee's small grant scheme, this report represents an application which has been made to the Small Grant Working Group outside of the parameters set for the next round of grants, which are to be considered in February 2021. The recommendations are that the committee endorse the recommendations made by the working group in respect of eligible applications. We move on to page 12 of the report. We've had one application received by Blackfriars Theatre Academy, which the small grant working group agreed was eligible for consideration. In table below, it does lay out what they would like to do. They'd like to organise and perform a socially distanced pantomime in January 2021. Funds will contribute towards script and performance rights, costumes, sheet music and backing tracks, and set hire, 3 backcloths. The project for which they're applying is time dependent and is to be delivered before round 1 applications are due to be reviewed, which is why it's being put forward this evening. The table, like I said, table 2 has been already distributed with the working group's decision. As you are aware, the committee agreed to reopen the grant scheme ready for the next financial year, inviting applications to be submitted for a January 2021 deadline. This application was received and the applicant requested consideration before this deadline as project delivery intends to be in January. The Btac Small Grant Working Group were prepared to consider the application and all information was passed to them via email for a decision. Whilst Councillor Woodliff abstained from the vote due to his interest in Blackfriars Theatre, the remaining members of the working group responded, which was to grant this funding to Blackfriars Theatre Academy as indicated in table 2. They are looking for £1,000 contribution. The funds for this project will be allocated from the remaining 1920 grants budget as outlined in the finance pro forma, which states that there is £1,694.33 available for this grant application. The remaining balance can either be added to the pot for 2021-22 or put back into Btac reserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie. Stephen, Councillor Woodley. You're on mute, Councillor Woodley.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I think Maddie's explained the situation. I've got a conflict of interest here because I'm a member of Blackfriars Theatre and Arts Centre, an ordinary member, but there is a potential conflict of interest there. So I withdraw from the discussion. As I did do, I withdrew from the discussion in the working group. Okay, so I have my full support, but obviously I'm not allowed to say that, am I?
You can say it, you just can't vote.
Support, but I'm not allowed to say so.
Okay, Stephen, thank you for that. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Danny, Anton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I would like to say is I think we all know and we are pretty sure of the hard times we have met with this year. I think the pandemic has a lot of challenges and we have to be up to these challenges. And I do feel for businesses as such, the theatre and the people who work at the theatres, as other businesses in town and local businesses. And I think a grant of £1,000 to help, I think is an ideal thing, just to show a good gesture of the Btac members that we are here to help our town to thrive and come back on their feet again. I don't see any problems with that. And I think we should grant them the money, and I think we should help them as much as we can and support them as much as we can, because we need support. We need to show some solidarity from ourselves towards our town. And I think that's the only way to go forward. So for these reasons, I will support the £1,000 grant to our Blackfriars Theatre. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Rush, Brian, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an observation, I suppose, as much as a question, but I think really for the public to know that we're open and all of that. I'd like Maddie to just explain why it has been sort of the timing. It seems to be out here. I think the actual document says something about they wanted to come in earlier or whatever. I wonder if you just explain to me why the background behind that, just for openness and clarity.
Thank you, Councillor Rush, and through the chairman, I will respond. Blackfriars Theatre Academy approached me as the administrator to consider the application based on the fact that we had opened the grant programme up, but we are not inviting applications to be submitted until January next year. But because of the COVID-19 and because they are looking to try and encourage young people to get back involved with the theatre again, they were hoping to be able to provide an opportunity for young people to put on a pantomime under socially distanced rules, but they wanted to put it on in January 2021, which is actually going to be before our deadline of the 29th of January 2021 to consider applications into next financial year. So they asked if we would consider bringing it forward in order to enable them to have the rest of this month to be able to continue to rehearse and to get all the things that they needed to be able to put it on next year. So I approached the working group with their proposal, and as this has come out as me attending this evening with the proposal for the committee to consider.
Oh, thank you, Maddie. And of course, it's not a pointed question anyway. It's about being open really with the public. I think we ought to somehow, and I'm sure you will do it as you've done in the past, is just explain the reasons behind that to the public, making it obvious that, you know, Blackfriars has a great reputation and we need to protect it. But I think that the public need to know that we are supporting that kind of an enterprise, if that's the right word. I don't know if you'll agree with that or not, but I'm just trying to think about public perception, nothing more.
Thank you, Brian. Councillor Griggs, Martin.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think, I know we weren't opening it up until the 29th of January, but I think young people especially have had a particularly horrible year. It's all right for us older ones, we're more accustomed to sitting around the house and finding stuff to keep ourselves busy or catching up with household jobs. So I think bringing this forward is exactly the right thing to do. I'm not going to waffle too long because Councillor Danny said most of the points I wanted to make, and I agree completely. So what I'd like to do is propose that we support the recommendations in the report.
Thank you, Martin. Councillor Alison Austin. Alison.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to smile about Councillor Griggs being one of the older ones.
Yeah, well, yes, I know.
I don't know, maybe you're probably younger than my children. Anyway, let me carry on. Right, there's several things going for this. I appreciate the timing, and of course, Christmas and that winter season is traditionally pantomime time. So this is, trying to be a near normal as possible, isn't it, in people's lives? There's so many positives though for this. It's for the theatre to still be able to work, to function as a theatre. That's excellent, both for the people of the wider borough, not just the town, but also for the theatre itself. And also then it is a boost though, isn't it? It's the boost for morale for the children or young people, and maybe they're not so young parents who go to enjoy it as well. So yes, I think this is a positive all round. It's been nominated. I believe I'd be happy to support it. Second it.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stevens, Yvonne. You're on mute, Yvonne.
Thank you. I'm also going to support this. I think it's good that we keep the theatre working. My only concerns is the COVID and people being in that small theatre, and it's going to be after Christmas when they think there's going to be a spike again. That's the only thing that concerns me, but I will support it because I'm sure I've got to trust that the Prize Theatre people will do their best to make sure that it's socially distanced, not only for the cast, but also for the customers that's coming to watch the pantomime. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Yvonne. Brian, you wanted to... Councillor Bell. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I totally agree. We've got to support this, us older ones especially. But yes, let's take it forward. Yeah, I like that comment, Martin Griggs. Absolutely astounding. Yeah, but yes, fully behind it. Let's take it forward, Chair. Thank you.
Well, yeah, it is all relative, though, Alan. I mean, I must admit, I went a while ago. I went to and the late Councillor Day was there, and he said, he says to me, "Young Dimmock needs a haircut." He was the Queen's, well, still is the Queen's chairman, I assume. I said, "Where's young Dimmock?" He said, "There." I said, "Well, he must be nearly 70." He said, "Well, it's all relative."
Nice one.
There you go. Such is life. Okay, so it has been moved and seconded that we support this. It's been moved by Councillor Griggs, seconded by Councillor Austin. It seems like we have a really good debate on this issue and a lot of support. Thank you for that. Can we just take the vote then, Karen, please?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Chairman. If members could answer for, against or abstention, please. Councillor Alison Austin.
For.
Councillor Alan Bell.
For.
Councillor Anton Dunny.
For.
Councillor Deborah Evans.
For.
Councillor Martin Griggs.
For.
Chairman, Councillor Paul Goodale.
For.
Councillor Neil Hasty.
For.
Councillor Brian Rush.
For.
Councillor Yvonne Stevens.
For.
Councillor Stephen Wood, if you are conflicted, do you wish to note abstention, sir?
Yes, please put me down to abstention, please.
Thank you, sir. Clearly carried, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Maddie. Has it changed since we last looked at this? But didn't I wasn't under the impression that it was going to be a web
Yeah, I was just going to put in, just to allay Councillor Stevens' concerns.
Yes.
It's actually going to be a pantomime that is filmed in various locations outside and then transmitted to families' homes should they purchase a ticket.
Oh, that's brilliant. What a fabulous idea. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you all. Good evening.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Maddie.
Our next item on the agenda then this evening is the public open spaces, Btac assets. This is a report is on page 15 of the agenda pack. Will be presented by Matt Fisher, the operations manager. It is quite a long report, but it is actually, I think, a success story, which I'm sure Matt. Yes, sorry, Karen.
Sorry, Chairman. Councillor Dorian's just joining the meeting, so just for confirmation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Apologies for lateness, Chairman.
That's no problem. Councillor Russ gave you apologies and said you would be trying to join in late. That's fine. Thank you. We're just moving on to the open spaces, Councillor Dorian, and it'll be on page 15. Matt, then, if you, yes, sorry, Councillor Austin.
Right. I did say to Karen, I have got another meeting, and I think, by the way, I wasn't sure where we were going to get to, but it's at 7 o'clock. At an appropriate moment during this item, I will leave, but I won't, say anything then. I've announced that I'm sorry, I've got to go, but you've got on brilliantly, so we've got well through the agenda. So thank you very much. It's something that I really need to go to tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Austin.
Thank you very much.
Matt.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members. I'll be pleased to take you through this report tonight. So this is our annual update, and it outlines the improvement projects we've completed this year on the Btac open spaces. The report also deals with the security improvements which we believe are necessary to protect the other public spaces that we've identified from illegal encampments, such as we had at Woodville Road this year. And also the report identifies some future potential projects for consideration, which we call the wish list. So in line with previous decisions of this committee, we've prioritised investment in Central Park and Woodville Road this year. So we have a brand new multi-use games area in Central Park, and that was provided by Safe and Sound, and that followed a competitive tender process following significant community engagement. And that mugger has been in place since April of this year. A fantastic modern facility funded by this committee, and also monies which we have secured from the Controlling Migration Fund. Aligned with the mugger, we've got a brand new skate park, and that was designed by the community. The design was chosen by the community and provided by Maverick Industries. That project completed on September 3rd. And I think we all know in this committee how much support that the skate park has already captured from the community. It's provided a very modern facility for young people, for everybody actually. That project was funded by the Controlling Migration Fund. It's £225,664. We've completed the community garden that completed on November 3rd. And that project has had a huge amount of community engagement and involvement. The Prince's Trust, Boston in Bloom, volunteers, nurseries, daycare centres, Transported Arts provided us some external funding and engaged local artist designers. And together they've planned and created a brand new space, which now includes the Frisking Buoy. There's a bit more work to do on the buoy in terms of the design and of that. But it's all planted up and looks fantastic. It will only get better over time. And again, that was funded almost entirely externally, grants from the MHCLG, Controlling Migration Fund, and the Big Boston Local. There is an amount of money left in that development pot, which we intend to develop the seating and the litter bin provision and to support the community garden. So if as members will know, if you look at the north eastern side of Central Park now, it's brand new. The old pavilion buildings have gone, the former bowling green that was disused, the old tennis courts. It's been completely transformed. It's a modern, fit for purpose, high quality facility, and it's wanted and respected by the community. It's absolutely superb. We've also done the work in Woodville Road. Obviously, we installed the pirate ship. That's actually going back to October last year. But again, absolutely superb, top class facility for the community, and a consistent theme running through all these developments. It was funded. The community, the engagement of the external funds was triggered by funding from this committee, but also that particular site was funded by Big Boston Local. So in summary, that's the main items of activity this year. And certainly there's actually quite a lot of work that's gone behind that. They are very, very significant projects that have been delivered. Just moving on to the security matters, the protection of open spaces from illegal encampments. We've identified 5 areas of vulnerability on 5 of the main spaces. 4 of those we're asking committee to consider funding. There's a different solution for the 5th site, but we're recommending that we do similar to what we've done at Woodville Road in terms of installing the pedestrian guardrail fencing. The cost of all that work is just under £15,000. If members are minded to approve that, then we would get on with that work pretty soon, so that we could afford the necessary protection that we think that it needs. And just moving on to the next year's programme, despite the COVID challenges this year, we did carry out some consultation where it was absolutely safe to do so, but it was quite limited. But the table 4.3, sorry, on your report does summarise the future wish list projects that have come out of that consultation. I don't propose to go through each one of them individually, but what we would recommend is that we ask committee to refer these to the Btac Open Spaces Working Group, and we can then work together to come up with some costed options in terms of bringing a report next year, so that it will enable us to set the development plan for 21-22. There's also something there's also a matter related in the report in terms of climate change and specifically carbon capture. We did make a small saving on the Woodville Road fencing improvements of £3,000. So what we would like to do is divert that saving, which will enable us to complete an application for external funding, match funding, and then we would have a pot of money of £6,000 to establish another community orchard, and that's certainly been supported by Btac members in the past, but that would help offset some of the carbon impacts of undertaking the improvement works to spaces. That's something we would recommend. So the main point I would like to highlight is that despite the challenges that we have had delivering normal services in a pandemic, this year has actually been hugely successful in terms of developing the quality of the public open spaces and the facilities that we now offer our community. But also we've been hugely successful in attracting external funding, which has made the scale of these changes possible. So from a very welcome £37,000 investment by this committee, we've been able to go away and get an additional £290,000 investment from external sources, and that's allowed us to do a much bigger scheme that we would otherwise be able to do. And the report does include a couple of appendices, and it gives members a bit more specific detail in terms of what's been going on throughout the year and how the investment has come about. And we have included before and after photos in that, which I think is always helpful to understand the impact. So in terms of the recommendations, we would ask the committee to note the report. We'd ask the committee to approve 14,947 funding for the open spaces and the security fencing improvements. £16,000 for new outdoor gym equipment for Central Park, and £3,000 allocation of funding for the community orchard, and obviously to refer the wish list improvements to the Btac subgroup for open spaces and cost up the options for a future Btac report. So that concludes the report, Mr. Chairman, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Councillor Rush, Brian, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for that presentation. I've got a few observations, and obviously you may well have thought and may well have suspected that I'd be having a few comments to make about this, especially regarding the Woodville Road incursion. Well, I've used that word. I don't know if that's the right word or not, really. I'm not going to go into the details of how disappointed I was with how we reacted. I think we need to really, I'm hoping through the chairman, that Btac will concentrate a bit of time on checking how we actually do organise protective officers for the safety of the public. Now, it seems a strange thing for a councillor to say, I suppose, but Woodville Park has been a fantastic learning curve, it seems, for other play areas in the area. And this concerns me in so much as why such a simple, albeit expensive project wasn't instilled in the first place. There is a question behind all of this, which I'll come to in a minute. But one of the things that I think may not have been thought about by officers who are paid to look after that kind of part of our facilities is, I would believe now that most children that play in there are entirely safe from the dangers of traffic. So that in itself would have made that one development or that equipment highly valuable, highly prized, and obviously we would be very pleased to put our children in there and not worry. Previous to that, I suppose it is difficult to come up with the term a disgrace, but there was great dangers. I know nothing happened, and there but for the grace of God, good children. But I really do believe that it has been a massive improvement. One thing I would like to ask Matt is how secure would he say that the fencing is? Now, it obviously will stop children running onto the field, the road. It will obviously stop a football invading the road. But I'm talking about if the same thing happened again next year, just how robust does he think that fencing is? That's a question to him, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to come back, obviously.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I mean, the fencing that we've chosen is pedestrian guardrail fencing. So it's the same type of fencing that you have at Pelican crossings and such like that afford protection from traffic. So is it absolutely immovable? No, absolutely. You know, you could get it up, but does it afford reasonable prevention of illegal encampments? I would say absolutely. It's type approved pedestrian guardrail fencing, so it's as strong as it was designed to be. But I think the point is it's a very good deterrent in terms of preventing future encampments. If you have a space that has no protection at all, then it's more inviting than if it is protected.
Well, I mean, even a privet hedge would do that for you. Any improvement was an improvement on what you had before, because what you had before was open season, really, on what you call a play area. I do remember when I spoke to them first, spoke to the workers that were down there first, when they started to fence off the play areas. I was very concerned, really, about the lack of thought that had been given to how secure they were, and so when I seen that the Btac members' recommendation had been taken up. And within days, I suppose, within weeks of having resecured the park, we had the installers down there with the fencing. Now, I'm sure you put this fencing up in other areas around Boston and, as you said, traffic-wise. I think the one thing you're missing, though, is the fact that this is the crossings that you talk about and the barriers that are there are actually into either tarmac or concrete. I'm sure you would agree with me that these are into soil. And as such, that's what worries me really, because they don't have the same resistance to pushing over. And in fact, I spoke to one of the workers on there, and believe me, I'm not trying to steal anyone's thunder as they might have tried to steal mine. I'm just simply doing my job the best way I can. But the installer told me that the concrete bases that were being put in were 300 millimeters. Now, 300 millimeters in my terms when I was at school was 12 inches. It's like a ruler, really. A shovel and a half, really, two shovels of concrete. Is that adequate for someone who wanted to get into the playing field with a vehicle, without a vehicle, or just with brute force? Do you think it's secure enough, having given that amount of anchorage?
Mr. Chairman, certainly from a technical point of view, I probably couldn't answer in terms of the depth of concrete and such like. But we went through a procurement exercise, and it was a recommended installer, and obviously it was purchased for the purposes of preventing future illegal encampments. But obviously the fencing will be subject to routine inspection, and we will certainly keep an eye out on in terms of the condition of the fencing. Certainly that came up at a previous meeting. So if there is any damage, then we need to make sure that we respond to that very quickly and get that repaired. But certainly we consider it was fit for purpose. It was subject to a tender exercise, and we have a product at the end of the day that's installed. But we will make sure that we inspect it and we keep on top of maintaining that site. Absolutely.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind me, I don't want to hog the limelight completely, but I'd just ask a couple more questions, really. But the first brief one, you've just highlighted it just now. You said you went for an exercise of inviting other proposals, yes, from other providers.
The procurement of this was actually done by our property services section. So they went through a procurement exercise, obviously to identify an installer. And forgive me, that was subject to the last report, so I don't have access to who it was to hand. But it was a recommended installer and went through the due process of procurement. Yes.
Okay, but what I'm really saying to you is, did the specs that all other quoters, for want of a better word, did they have a spec for the anchorage as well? And did they all comply? Were they all the same? That's what I'd like you to find out from me. Maybe report it back to us. I appreciate it. We've taken you by surprise. Don't get me wrong, but I just worry that piece of concrete isn't really all that resistant to force. Put it that way. Mr. Mayor, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm bringing Paul up far too high. Mr. Chairman, I would like to come back, but I'd like to give all the members a chance to speak, and if I may reserve a right to come back. And thank you, Matt, for that.
Thank you, Councillor. So I think it's fairly obvious whatever we put in. If we have somebody determined to actually run at it with a vehicle, then
I agree. I
think they will get in whatever we put up. But all right, Stephen, Councillor Woodley.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay. I agree with everything that Councillor Rush has said. Effectively, yes. I'm obviously concerned that the fence might prove to be merely, well, for show, if I put it that way. Because if anybody's determined, they'll cut their way through or they'll drive their way through, whatever you do. So I'm not in a position to be able to put an armour-plated fence in, are we? That's about $500,000, I think. So we can't do that. So we have to use what money we have. But I did notice actually on page 18 on the Woodwell Road section, the public realm CCTV camera is already priced up at £4,935. Now, I think that should go ahead right away. I think we need to have a camera up there that can watch that field so that whoever thinks about damaging and driving in will spot them. Because we don't have that at the present moment. It has been considered in the past, but it's priced up here, £4,935. Let's get that camera in quickly so that we can watch. I suspect that if there are anybody else comes back with the idea of, perhaps we say, illegal entry by one means or another, the camera might be a sufficient deterrent. Because they'll be spotted right away, won't they? So is that possible to add that into our bill for the night, the 4,935?
It's possible, Stephen. We were going to add the camera to the bits going to the wish list group. We actually do need to apply for planning permission for it, so we can't, as it were. But it's obviously possible. Of course, it is. If members wish that to go ahead, we will put it through onto the program.
Planning committee doesn't have very much to do these days at present minute, I think, so it might be the only item on the list. I think so. We've got to protect our parks and open spaces, and it would apply to all the others. My feeling is we've got to go ahead and give maximum protection and get the CCTV up to watch these places so that we can avoid further occurrences. I also agree with everything's been said so far. Councillor Brown-Rush and others. I'm sure I agree with everybody else's views tonight. But if we can get this term up and running right away, let's get on and do it. We've got the money, haven't we? We're not short. At least I don't think we're short.
But well, we would be of doing everywhere, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephen. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Denny, Anton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, it's nice to see all these projects and all the parks and what we do and what the council are doing and what Matt is doing. But the only thing we don't see there is nothing, regarding, I think, our ward, Councillor Bell, Fanside. Fanside has been forgotten for the last probably century. We don't do anything. And I do believe that we have talked, I think, around 3 years ago about Angelo Avenue, which is they have a great space there. There is nothing happening there. There is no other, plans coming forward. And it's a big space and it's left, just empty. We could use some of the money and put some things there for the people, who lives around that area. And I do believe there is a lot of kids and there is a lot of adolescents and teenagers. So all of the, sorry, Mr. Mayor, and I think they will need a place as well where they can spend their time, where they can play and feel free. And I think it's a very good space. And I think one of the benefits there, I don't think so the travelers can get there, which is good. And I think we should do something about it. There is another park, which is a small one in Ingram Road. There is a facilities there, but we don't tend to renew it at all. So my question, why we haven't done anything so far for Fanside?
I did ask the same question about of Matt and Mr. Perry about the Fanside playing field, but there are proposals to deliver a play area in that area, subject to a land swap deal, which it's ongoing, and I can't really. It is in a technical thing, so. I think if you wish to have details of that, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Bell, then I'm sure Mr. Perry will update you. But I don't think that at present there's a sufficient sufficient depth this evening, as it's basically all being negotiated with a developer.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question. I'm trying not to be vague, but at the end of the day, I think it's it is at a critical stage, and I wouldn't want to jeopardise anything. But I'm sure that you and Councillor Bell and yourself could be updated on what's happening there.
And I just, Mr. Chairman, you may understand my position. I mean, we have a deprived area fan side has been forgotten for a while. We try to bring things to fan side. We fight for fan side, but I think it's time probably to pay some attention to fan side and try to create some a clean environment where our young people can, you know, gather, can play, can feel safe, and can feel free to do things what they love to do. I mean, unfortunately, there is nothing so far for the last, I've been a councillor since now this is coming to the 6th year, and there's nothing for the kids done there. Okay, there is 2 developments coming there. So there is more housings, there's more people coming there. It looks cleaner, it looks nicer, it looks more safer than before. I will agree with that. But I think we have to think about the young generation. We're spending a lot of money on the same fields all the time. And I think Woodville Road now become the topic of the century. There is fence which was put, there is things, now there is a camera to come. So there is always these things around, but Fanside hasn't got anything. And I do feel for my residents at Fanside, I'm not here acting as their lawyer, but I'm just acting as a member of the public as I live in the area myself. And I would like to have something for our youths. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But I think you will find that what's been proposed down there would definitely be beneficial.
It will be good if we keep updated on that. If Andy can send us some information, that will be very helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Perry or Andy will do that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Griggs, Martin.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think members of across the chamber have raised some interesting points. Just to come back on a couple of those, Councillor Danny, you're quite right. Fenside does need some investment, and as Councillor Goodale said, there are developments down there. In terms of the other parks you referred to, they're owned by Mayflower Housing, or LHP as they're now called. So it might be worth you and Councillor Bell lobbying them to, you know, try and give them a kick up the bum to spend some money, because we all know that sometimes housing associations need a kick up the bum before they jump to action. Just to come back on a point that Councillor Rush made, I think it's probably not the failing of the officers, it's probably the failing as us of councillors to not consider the security needs required for that play area, especially due to the fact, as you raised at the last meeting, there have been several, to use your phrase, incursions over the last few years. So it's probably remiss of us, especially as Btac, to not raise it prior to now. And I think that was probably more for the fact to save the aesthetics of the park than anything else. I just want to thank this committee, really, because obviously you all know that I chaired the Open Spaces subgroup, and you guys have been extremely supportive as a committee for improving the parks and play areas for the residents of Boston, and we have done some fantastic work. I'm also sure that the rest of the committee would like to also send our appreciation to Fran, our physical play officer, because she works tirelessly to ensure that, you know, not only do we have the consultation and that she liaises with literally every person in the community is willing to talk to her to find out what people want, but she puts in a hell of a lot of leg hours outside of her job role to ensure that these schemes go ahead. So I personally would like to pass my thanks, and I'm sure the committee would. Other than that, I'm quite happy to forward the recommendations as on the paper, with the exception of bringing the CCTV footage into the let's do it now rather than send that off on the list, as Councillor Woodliff suggested. Looking for a seconder.
Thank you, Martin. Well, I think Councillor Woodliff will second that. but thank you for that. I mean, I will also add my thanks to Fran and the committee's thanks, and I'm sure Matt will pass them on for us. She does sterling work for us, as indeed do all of the Matt's team that actually look after the open play spaces for us. So I thank them all for that. Councillor Stevens, Yvonne.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to support these recommendations, very, very happy, and I would like to second Martin as well. But I do have a question. And in the on the wish list for Central Park, there's a water splash zone. What is a water splash zone, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is literally the outcome of the consultation that we had with the local community. Limited consultation because of the restrictions. So that is what they said. The point is, we haven't done much in terms of investigating these individual options. We have literally taken the consultation from the community, written them down, bringing them to committee, and what our recommendation would be is that we undertake the investigations in terms of all of these potential wish list options for the subgroup to consider. So that's the best answer I can give you. Other than that, I'm afraid.
So the truth is, Matt, I really don't know Councillor Stevens, but okay.
That's correct, yes.
Sorry to butt in. I can provide a little bit more light if it's helpful.
Thank you.
If you would, Matt.
Yeah, so we all remember the sand pit we used to have in Central Park that we had when I was younger. It's similar to that, but it's water themed play. So you have like little tunnels where water goes through and you can put stuff in, it comes out the other side, and that sort of thing. You get them in other places. I can honestly say I've not seen any in parks, but I do think myself it would be quite good for kids to play with. You tend to get them in like science museums and stuff. It's that sort of water thing from what I can get. Hope that helps.
Thank you. I was hoping that it was going to be like these water fountains that come out of the pavements where kiddies run through it and just get a lot of joy from it. And I would really be supportive if it were to be that type of water splash zone. So, but I do support it. And as I said, I've seconded it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Dimmers. I was thinking it would be something like those where the children run through and the water shoots up. Yeah, I was thinking it was something like that. But I suppose it could be anything from the fairy dell to the puddles there when it floods, couldn't it? Yeah. But yes. Right. Councillor Bell, Alan.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I totally concur with Mr. Mayor, because we both tried to get things going. Fenside is deprived of things. It's terrible because, as Danny said, we've got housings moving. Yeah, but it's fine that Martin says we have a go at LHP. The residents can't even get the repairs done. So, you know, the backlog on that, I mean, I've had no end of messages over November, December about either had to complain to LHP to get anything done. So I don't think Anton and I will get any money out of them for a park. I will hold my breath on that. You never know. I mean, I might even win lottery tonight, but I think the chance of getting any money out of them is, well, 1,000,000 to 1. But we will keep pursuing, because I totally agree with Anton. We deserve something for Fenside. The people of Fenside deserve some kind of park. Ingelo is a massive area. I know you've already explained. I'm looking forward to what that is, because that area and a park there, as Anton said, there's plenty of children around there. I was around there before COVID attacked, and I've been around in the car since. And it's just wanting something for the children, the elderly ones, and you know, the young children. It's a necessity. We get some money for Fenside. It really is. And I'm going to get off my soapbox now. It really upsets me that Fenside is not getting the money it's really due to. And thank you, Anton. I totally agree with you.
Well, thank you, Alan Kessabel and Mr. Mayor. I can assure you that we certainly looking at Ingelo Avenue playing field very, very seriously and very closely. And I think after the update, you will hopefully be reassured that things are moving. But obviously, if you're not happy with that, then we can always revisit Ingelo Avenue playing field at a future Btac meeting. Councillor Rush, you wanted to come back again?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for that. And I'm sorry to say, but I might be sort of ear-holding you, Paul, a little bit. I don't mean that in any way.
No, I don't have a problem.
I'm not going to cast violence on my chairman at this stage of the night. But I'm sure, Paul, that you told me once when I questioned either the refurbishments that as a result of the incursion, but certainly what I have been quite annoyed about, not annoyed, that's wrong, quite concerned about, was the amount of money that was spent on the galleon. Now, I don't even know how much it was, but I'm sure it was quite a large figure. But I remember saying at the time, during a meeting that I was concerned about the amount of money that was being invested in Woodville Park, my own ward. So, you know, I'm not in a position to reject anything that's given to me free. But I do remember you and I having a conversation because I was concerned about the way Fenside had been almost ignored. And Alan's just mentioned something about for years. Well, I've lived in Boston for a long, long time. And I can hardly remember anything of what I call a child's play area of any ilk being invested in down there. And it's sad for me to say this, but it's one of the areas of town that deserves more almost because it's so out of the way. And it had a big rolling field really of nothingness. And I did feel somewhat as though it was a bit of a poor relation to the rest of the town. And since I moved in and taken the ward of Fenside, sorry, not of Fenside, of Stanyland, I have sort of looked across the road at Fenside and thought, is there somebody not doing their job down there about appealing for money? Now, I'm not casting any aspersions on Councillor Danny because he has worked very hard down there. In fact, I've helped him many a time down in that area. And Alan's come along at a late moment, and he's highly enthusiastic about making it better. But I have to be honest and say, I thought that you gave me some kind of a description of Woodville Park being the sort of the central park, and that's why it was the amenity for those areas. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, but can you recall that?
No, well, I can recall the conversation, Councillor. The point I was making was that Woodville Park belonged to 4 wards within the borough, because obviously the ward I represent doesn't have one at all. No play area, no green space, no nothing. And the corner of my ward just happens to be, so the children in my ward have to, Woodville Road is their playing field. The same as where my present address, where I live now, is up dead across the road from my ward, if you like, or on the in Fenside. Woodville Road is their playing field as well to residents of Fenside, plus Central, plus Skirbeck. So I mean, so plus West, plus Skirbeck. So it actually does serve 4 wards. I think the thing with Fenside and one of the problems we have is during the stock transfer, most of the play areas were given over to LHP and only left the Ingelo Avenue playing field. And when I was a member for Fenside, there was a adventure playground built on that site, which was let to go into disrepair. I mean, I wasn't a councillor at the time after that, but while I was a member there, an adventure playground was built down there. It was deemed dangerous in the end and condemned. And since then, not much has happened. I agree, but I think I have to concur with Councillor Griggs. Really, it's political will that that's made the fencing go up. Nothing else. Officers can make recommendations to do whatever, but they can't act on their own. And it's the political will of this committee and the pushing of myself and other members that have actually got the fencing round Ingelo Avenue. It's also the political will of this committee that actually has got a lot of the play areas upgraded. And so much so, I believe that even some Conservative county councils are even trying to take credit for our fencing. So, you know, we obviously are being very successful. I understand that there's a certain council at present coming up to the county council elections is claiming credit for the fence and on Woodville Road. So, but it is political will that's done it, and I have to agree with Councillor Griggs. It's no point complaining to the officers. I mean, I've come back on this council this time, but I mean, I can't comment on the last 4 years because I can comment, but it wouldn't be fair. But it is political will that's driving this, and that's the way it is.
Well, you're right, Councillor, and I also received a letter passed on by second hand from a county councillor disgracefully claiming You know, we don't need that, frankly. This town is a community that should work together. And I think despite our fallouts from time to time, we do actually work hard together. We don't need people coming in from outside. But yeah, all I was going to come back to you and say was, I want to give support to Councillor Danny and Councillor Bell. That area does need something doing. And if your ward is kind of aligned to it in some way, I would applaud that kind of initiative. And I really do think that it deserves to be considered as a special agenda item.
That's fine, Councillor Rush. I will speak to Councillor Danny and Councillor Bell about it. But I say I think at this moment in time, what I'll discuss. I'll let them have the update first, and then we can discuss the way forward for them. But I mean, I'm quite happy to agenda LHP to come to bring them into Btac to ask them questions, but as to what they're doing with the play areas and such, if that helps. But I say I will liaise with Councillor Danny and Councillor Bell, Councillor Danny, Mr. Mayor, and with Stephen, and we'll see what we can do on that item.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rush. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Danny, Anton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity to talk. Just to clarify something for Councillor Griggs, I had a chat with the CEO of LHP when he was in Boston, and I think that's around probably 2 years ago, and we talked about the same issues as Fanside. This seems they are very happy what's happening in Fanside. They seem that they are happy with what's going on with Fanside and the development and everything. So they are happy, which is they are not wishing to spend more money on playgrounds. That's how I read the message given by the CEO. But however, I'm saying that I think us on Btac, and I'm not acting as a political here. I don't want to gain any political grounds at all. We are here as representing the public and the communities of Boston. That's how I see it. We are not political here. Here we work for the town and for our town only. So any politics should stay aside. I support Councillor Rush at what he said, and I thank him a lot for his support. Of course, Councillor Bell is my colleague at Fanside. So what can we do? In my opinion, I think as a Btac, we should put a pressure or send a letter probably to LHP to tell us what we can do, and we can work with them together so we can come up with some ideas to develop the place. Angelo Avenue, soon we're going to get some information, then we will know what's going on. That's from one side. I think is the role of Btac, is our duty altogether to put pressure on LHP to do something about Fanside and anything they own in Boston. Fanside is not an island, which is, oh, it belongs to LHP. It's not my problem. I'm not going to deal with it. This is wrong. I don't think so. It's fair on the residents on Fanside to say that. They are part of our town. They have the right to vote. They pay their taxes, and I think we should serve them the right way. That's one thing. And I would like you, Mr. Chairman, because if we can write a letter to Fran and her team for the great job they did in town, and that's coming from members of the public, the latest jobs they did in town in some areas. I'm not going to name them and what they did. I think everything, it can be on the web. So I would like you, if we can send them a letter of thanks from us. I did send them a card from myself for this year to thank them for their sterling work they're doing in town. So if we can do that from Btac as well, that will be appreciated, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Not a problem, Mr. Mayor. I can deal with that. Alan, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me come back. I totally thank you very much, Brian Rush. And yeah, Anton, we're definitely going to work this out. And I would appreciate you putting pressure on LHP. Let them come to a meeting, because I don't seem to get any joy out of them. And as Anton says, they're just happy we're taking the money, basically, and they're happy how things are. But we're not happy, and the residents aren't happy. They're entitled. As Anton says, they pay the taxes, so let's get them something, please. And thank you very much again, Brian. And yeah, please, let's get LHP here and let's have a quiet word in their shell, like, please, about Fanside. Let's remind them, as Anton says, it's not an island, it's part of Boston. And let's reiterate that to them, please. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Alan. Councillor Griggs, Martin, please.
Yeah, I'd like to say I completely agree with what Councillor Danny said, and I think your idea, Mr. Chairman, was fantastic. I don't know what other members' opinions are, but I definitely support getting LHP in and maybe in having a not so quiet word with them. I think at least from my opinion, I think it might be useful to have an unofficial members' discussion to decide what we as Btac want to tell LHP as a collective message, the improvements that we want for our residents might be. So instead of just inviting them to a meeting and us ad hoc questioning them, maybe potentially Btac get together outside of our formal meetings and decide what it is that we want to ask for, and then invite them in and say, this is what we want. What are you going to do about it? And hopefully maybe the political will of the committee as a whole might put some pressure on them. I don't know what other members' opinions on that are.
That's a very good idea, Martin, personally. Thank you for that. Councillor Dorian, Anne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologies for arriving late again. Mr. Chair, excuse me for not joining in the love-in tonight, but since I've been on council, Councillor Danny hasn't brought anything forward to Btac for Fenside. I would happily support an initiative for that estate. I know the estate very well. I teach hundreds of children who live there. But he's never brought anything forward. So, you have to take initiative, Councillor Danny. You have to get with the programme and bring something forward that we can vote on, that we can support, that we can put money to. It's not going to happen unless you take a leadership role. We are here as politicians. Let's not forget that. And you are one of the most political mayors this council has ever had, sadly. So I will support any initiative that comes forward that benefits the young people of our borough, especially the Fenside ward. They deserve it. And I will also support having LHP here and holding them accountable for how they're spending taxpayer funds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you. Thank you, members. It has been moved and seconded. Karen, can I ask you to well, I'll obviously take the vote, but go through the recommendations, because we've had moved and seconded about the camera on Woodville Road.
Yes, certainly, Chairman. Thank you very much. It's been moved by Councillor Martin Griggs and seconded by Councillor Yvonne Stevens that the committee note the update, approves £14,947 funding for open spaces security fencing improvements, £16,000 for new outdoor gym equipment for Central Park, £3,000 savings reallocation to create a community orchard, and refers the future wish list improvements to the Btac working group for open spaces to cost up options and present to a future report to Btac, and that the CCTV camera be installed on Woodville playing field as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
We'll move to the vote, members. Councillor Alan Bell.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Anton Danny.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Anne Dorian.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Deborah Evans.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Griggs.
For.
Thank you. Chairman Councillor Goodale.
For.
Councillor Neil Hasty.
For.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Brian Rush.
For.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Yvonne Stevens.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Stephen Woodliff.
For.
That's unanimous, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, members. Item 4, Btac annual report for 2019-20. This report is on page 43 of the agenda pack. And oh, excuse me, I've just dropped it. But I don't know if you wish to comment on this, Mr. Perry, first, or wait till members have their comments.
I'll let members have their comments first, Chair, if that's okay.
That's fine. No, I didn't know if you had anything you wished to add to it. Do any members wish to comment on the annual report? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Chairman. The only comment I've got is within the membership. And if you look down, I'm nearly at the bottom of the membership for the name. My name's spelt incorrectly. It's not a PH, it's a V, my name. But it is correct on the front in the membership at the front of the document.
Well, thank you for that, Councillor. My apologies. I did actually check this, so my apologies. But I'm pleased we got it right at least once. Thank you. Any other members wish to comment? No. Okay, I can't see any. Do you want to make any comments, Mr. Perry?
Just to reiterate that this year has been a very successful year for Btac. Btac has achieved a lot, and you can note that under Section 7, where Btac is also mentions, of course, the grants contributions for the year as well. I think sort of reiterate to what was spoken earlier, it really can be proud of itself as a committee for what has been achieved, and the actual the way that the funding that Btac has put forward has been able to be matched to bring in a further sort of nearly £300,000 of opportunities in for events and for new facilities in Central Park.
Yes, well, thank you for that, Mr. Perry. I mean, I would agree. I can only really thank the members of this committee and the staff that have actually put a lot of work into getting the match funding for these projects. It has generated considerable amount of money for the well, to say small amount that Btac has put into it. A small amount in terms of what's been received in return. So I think on that, I think I would like to congratulate you and Matt and all of your teams and this committee, obviously, as well, because without the political will in the first place, you know, it's all about having ideas, but you do need to drive them forward. And I think with this committee's assistance for the last year, I can only thank you for your support through the year, and all our staff. I think we've done a tremendous job for the year. So thank you for that. I will move to the work programme, the last item.
Chairman,
Yeah.
I do apologise, Chairman. There is a recommendation onto full council for the annual report, sir.
Oh, well, I did see that, but I thought since nobody wanted to put that,
No, it's going on to full council to be recommended, so we just need to take a vote if you're happy. If someone can move and second, Chairman, thank you.
No, we will do it properly. Can I have a move and seconder, please, for the annual report?
I'll move that, Chair.
Thank you.
Happy to second it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Griggs. Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, we just need to do the vote.
No,
It's been
that's
moved.
quite all right, Karen. I did tell you before. You got to keep an eye on me because I'm liable to gallop off.
Thank you, Chairman. It's been moved by Councillor Alan Bale, seconded by Councillor Martin Griggs, that committee recommend to full council that Btac's annual report be approved for publication. Councillor Alan Bale.
For.
Councillor Anton Danny. Councillor Anton Danny.
For Karen.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Anne Dorian.
For.
Councillor Deborah Evans.
For.
Councillor Martin Griggs.
For.
Councillor Paul Goodale, Chairman.
For.
Councillor Neil Hasty.
For.
Councillor Brian Rush.
For Karen.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Yvonne Stevens.
For.
And Councillor Stephen Woodliffe.
For.
That's unanimous, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Karen. And my apologies. I actually put your instructions to me down. I've just found them. Thank you. The final item on the this evening is the work programme on page 49 of the agenda. Do any members have any comments on the listing items on this and things to consider? So I'll ask members if they wish to. Councillor Anton Danny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All I want to know to add is probably for the 3rd of February, if it's possible, the 2021, to add some members of the LHP if they can attend the meeting then, so we can talk about the issues of Fenside.
That is possible, but I think in light of what, thinking about what Councillor Griggs had to say, maybe we or have a discussion first on what we would like to pursue them on, then it might be more appropriate if they came to the March meeting. But I'm happy for them to come to that meeting. I'm just trying to think of fitting the other meeting in to have a discussion. I'll leave that to you. I mean, I'm happy to have it on that meeting, but
Well,
I think it would probably be might be easy for the 24th.
Because the 3rd of February, probably from now to then, it's over 2 months. So I think it's an appropriate time.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, if we can send them a letter or anything, just, to have something, or we can do a pre-meeting with them, because it seems to me that January there is nothing. I don't mind if we organize something through you, Mr. Chairman, and Councillor Alan Bell and myself, and we can sit and discuss some issues.
That's fine. Well, can we? I'll liaise with you and Councillor Bell and the officers, and we'll see when we can fit it in to the best. If we can fit it on the 3rd of February, I don't mind, but I think it probably more likely to be March. So, but I'm happy to follow it through with you and Councillor Bell and Councillor Woodliff and the officers and see where we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to put on the agenda, if possible for February, to have a discussion around moving our meetings when we're COVID-free from West Street to the Guildhall, because we're at the town centre area committee, and I just think it would be more appropriate, and it would be lovely to be sitting and working in that old building like our forefathers used to. That's my suggestion.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. I mean, you did ask me about that previously, and I am happy to have it on the agenda. And then we'll just see what members feel.
Yes, that'd be lovely if we could have a debate about it. It'd be lovely. Thank you.
That's fine. Councillor Rush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it's a sort of a burning question, really, but I'm looking at your programme and it seems as though March, and forgive me for trying to redesign your programme or anything, but am I assuming that March doesn't look as though there's very much in it, so it's open for me to put forward a proposal or not, or am I reading this wrong?
Well, you can put forward a proposal. No, you're not reading it wrong. I mean, obviously, we've got the budget and everything else will be the forecast, and the budget will be probably in March. But there you go. No, you're not reading it wrong at all. If you want to put something forward for March.
What I really want to put forward, and I think it's in the interest of every single councillor in the Btac group. I am desperately worried about the way our market has taken a dive, and I purposely use the word dive. We are known as a market town, and I think actually at one time one of the most well-known and popular markets in the country. Now I do take on board the way the current market is and the reasons for the downturn, if you like. But I have to be very honest, and this is the sort of the teaser for you. I've actually spent a couple of evenings looking at the market, either before it's up and before it's taken down. And I have to be honest with you and say it is very worrying about how the market stalls are put together. And I'm including both areas. I think we need a very, very detailed, what's the word they call it, forensic look at how our market structure is put together and the responsibilities that we have to make it, to bring it back to where it was. I have collected an awful lot of information that I think needs to be examined, and I would like the portfolio holder for town centre to be actually involved in this, so I don't exclude anyone. I understand the portfolio holder has not long been in post, so I'm not putting any blame in her direction at all, but I do think we need a forensic examination of the route being taken and an examination of the past, because frankly, it's very, very worrying. If you could consider that, Mr. Chairman, and give me some kind of response, I'd be very, very happy to hear it.
Well, I will consider it, Councillor Rush. I'm not too sure whether it falls under our remit or one of the other scrutiny boards, But yes, I will liaise with you and let you know what how we can proceed on that.
But we are well known for being a market town, and the Boston market is very well is past famous. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I must admit, I was uptown in the summer, and there were some ladies who had come from Skegness wanting to know where the market was, and I said, well, it's through there. Well, oh, where's that big market gone? I said, well, you can tell us, we'll be most happy. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Councillor Dorian, Anne, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm here tonight wearing two hats, really. I've got my councillor hat on, as usual. I'm also wearing my teacher hat on behalf of Haven High Academy. And I've got permission from Councillor Hasty to bring this up tonight. Now, the school would like to make Marion Road a street school. And they need our help to do that. So I would like to ask you to invite a representative from Haven High to the February meeting. And the idea behind this initiative is that dropping off times in the morning for 15 minutes, say, and picking up times in the afternoon, that the, school street, not street school, a school street, that all vehicles other than residents and the fire brigade and staff that work at the school, they're the only people permitted on the street. And this is to encourage safety for our young people. We've got over 1,000 students at Haven High Academy, and it's also linked in with the COVID pandemic, which would permit social distancing to take place. So the school would like to come and talk to the committee about it, to enlist the committee support. The reason I'm here tonight is because the school have followed the guidelines set out in the initiative, which is to contact the county councillor first and foremost. Sadly, Councillor Spencer has ignored their missives. And so, again, following the initiative, they go to the next level tier of government, which is us. And we would have been consulted anyway at some point, and our support would have been sought. So now the national government is very much behind this initiative, I'm pleased to say, and they're kind of throwing money at it at the moment, I'm led to believe. So I think in the interest of the safety of our young people, both in terms of road safety, cycle safety and COVID safety, I think this would be a great project for us to support and get behind. There are no school streets in the borough at present. And this would be the first. And if we could pull this off, I think that would be a feather in our cap, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you for that, Councillor Dorian. Yeah, it does sound a good project for us to be involved in. Yes, that's fine. I will with the officers and see, and we'll liaise with Haven High and see what's most appropriate for the programme.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank
you. Anyone else wish to comment? No? Well, thank you for that. Well, I'd like to thank our officers this evening.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I raised my hand.
Sorry, Councillor Danny, I can see you now.
Can we have some updates probably in February on the fly tipping and the skip and the timings and things, because it's worrying. Some places still infested with rubbish all around.
Well, we can. I will ask. We'll see what we can do. I mean, I think obviously we have problems at the moment with the fly tipping, with the help not coming from North Sea Camp, and I will liaise with Councillor Stevens outside this meeting to see what would be the best form. But I don't have a problem with us having an update on that. But I will ask Councillor Stevens outside this meeting to look at. Yes, so, Yvonne.
Just to make the committee aware, because of COVID, we are in dire straits with COVID and the workforce going down with it. in my area, we've got 6 people off with COVID. So that there's a reason why things aren't as we would like them. I am certainly not happy with how things are, but I'm happy to, I could go on about this. I'm so passionate about the waste, but I'm happy to talk about it at the February meeting, if that's what you want, Chairman.
I say we'll see what we can pull together through the officers and with you, Yvonne, if that's okay.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Did you wish to come back, Councillor Doreen, or is that a new hand? Or
No, Chairman, I apologise. I mustn't have raised.
no problem. I since I missed one, I thought I might have missed you as well.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then. So I've got quite a lot of work to do between now and the next meeting, but thank you for that. I would like to thank our officers for this evening, Mr. Perry, Mr. Fisher, and Karen, and Pippa, if you're still there. Thank you all for your attendance and your support this evening. I'd also like to thank the committee for their support throughout the year, and this is our last meeting of the year, so unfortunately, I can't share a beverage with you and a mince pie, which is disappointing to me, but I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'd like you all to keep safe and look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. So on that, I'll close the meeting and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr.